We are
Turn
here.
your microphones on.
We will call the meeting to order at 6:32 PM.
Motion to open?
Motion opened by DJ,
Seconded.
seconded by Patrick. All those in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. All right, so first thing on the agenda is the discussion on the new Mill Pond land survey. So if you reference back to the town administrator update from last month, there is not enough money in the project to cover the survey to the extent that they want to do the survey. I believe it came in at, came in from anywhere between 10,000 to 12,000 to 15,000. The quotes included boundary, topographical, wetland surveys, where the original proposal only accounted for staking out the property lines.
Yeah, so how come? Because it seems like there's been an expansion to what the project was calling for. The original project had a quote for $4,000. Now, obviously, that was almost 5 years ago, but still,
With-
like,
With the staking out the boundary lines doesn't necessarily do anything for us. They want to have the more in-depth land survey where they get a existing conditions map and things of that nature so that they can actually function with it. Just the staking out of the property lines wasn't going to be sufficient for, some of these things moving forward. That being said, if we would like to just hit the brakes on this project, they've applied for a mass development grant for 46 Washington Street, and we could potentially combine the two and do the survey fully instead of just staking the boundary lines.
well, we could wait to see if they get that grant, because there's no expiration on this one, so.
Yeah,
There's no guarantee that they'll be funded with that.
Yeah, right.
no, but she's got, they put in a grant with the Community One Stop Mass Development, and they also have an earmark of $25,000 for the feasibility study. So between the two of those, if one of those comes through, that could make up the difference. So I would be in favor of just kind of letting it sit and wait and see what happens on those.
Yeah.
We need to form a motion to
But it's it.
pause
Yeah,
any type of procedure going forward?
I like that.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right. Any further discussion on it? All those in favor?
Aye.
And she sits. All right, next up is the Crosstown Recreational Trail. And in the packet, I've attached the original proposal as well as the quotes that were received for it. This is another one where the costs don't necessarily line up. One of the quotes kind of went way above and beyond. The other one seemed reasonable, but I don't believe there's enough money for that either.
You know, I think there's $18,000, and one of those quotes, there's $14,000 quote there.
Right, the only,
But the trouble I have is that if you look at the scope of the original, and I was the one who wrote this, so the scope of the original one was not to just develop plans with the 18,000, it was to actually build the trail using volunteer efforts. And so it seems like, you know, I don't know, personally, I think this should be, go back to conservation and see what conservation's ideas are, because if we're gonna just spend all of this money on a plan, well, maybe that's the way to go, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that the easements, it looks like the easements and legal costs were more than in the original proposal, but again, I mean, that's 4 years ago, that proposal, so. I don't know, I don't wanna, yeah, I know there's $18,000 there, but if they need 14,000 plus to just plan it, is the $4,000 gonna be enough to deliver on the project?
No,
And I question that.
probably not, right? Probably not. So that's what I would say, we should put this back to conservation, have conservation decide, do we want to just do a plan for 14 grand and then put a second proposal in for 2026 that would actually, or it might even be 2027, to actually put the trail in place, you know what I mean?
Right, the only problem I have with that, though, is if the original proposal that was approved included building it, and now we're not building it, I don't think we can just go and say, oh, we're only gonna do half this project. I think if
Well-
at that point, the project should be scrapped and started, or whatever. Close this one, present it again for 2026 with an adjusted dollar amount to make it work. So I'm not comfortable spending the $18,000 just for a plan if the town meeting approved $18,000 to
It's-
do the whole project.
Well, but I mean, typically, that could happen, that one part of the project is a lot more, it's still within the scope of the project, so it isn't like, you know, you're throwing something new in there.
No, I'm not saying you're throwing something new, but the people voted on a finished trail, and we're not gonna deliver a finished trail.
Well, we
I don't
don't-
think we should spend any money
We don't-
knowing going into it that we're not gonna deliver a finished trail at the
No,
end
but
of
we
it.
don't know that. If we could spend $14,000 on the plan, and we could do the rest of the work with volunteers.
And that would cover materials.
Mr. Chair, just a quick question. Where are we coming up with the 14,000? So I'm reading the notes. I don't see,
It's in the second, I believe it's the second
The second proposal,
proposal, the one from,
Copley Wolf.
Looking forward enough.
yeah, Copley Wolf, it's in, towards the back of the,
I'm finding, where is it? 14?
towards the back of the thing, last half dozen pages or so,
of the memo or the,
The packet,
of that particular,
oh,
No, that's not
or the
it.
the big one? The big pamphlet?
oh, Copley Wolf,
the one, towards the, it's the one that has the project on it, it's like half, pretty
Okay.
close to the back of it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a letter from Copley Wolf to Rebecca.
This community trail one, this
it's after this one. Oh, I don't know, is it that one?
Oh, and you have hands on it.
Yeah, I know I have it, but I was trying to see what's, it starts, it's this packet, I guess, cost contract. And then there's a bunch of pages.
Really? Let me just shuffle through these pieces of paper here.
Okay.
See, that's
It's
why I kept this
The
together.
one?
the thick one?
Do I not have it?
It should be in
You
that
got it,
packet.
it's in your hand.
This thing?
Yep,
Yeah, okay.
So is the back of that?
towards the back of that.
Back of it.
Okay.
Yeah, there it is.
I was reading the memo, I was reading the memo.
Yep.
I was reading through the memo and the updates. So the memo and the updates, and that's the reason why I asked, is because the memo from Rebecca shows that we're still waiting on TEC. They've got 2 out of the 3.
Right.
So that's where I was wondering where the
Yeah.
14,000 came in from.
This one came in at 14, the other one came in at like 53,000.
So that's so Copley came in at 14,
14.
but we haven't got TEC yet.
Right. And I don't know if she's expecting it, because that was the same report from last month.
Okay.
The Copley Wolf one certainly lines up with the proposal better than the WDG one.
Yeah, the WDG one's kind of overboard. But by, you know, it is within the scope. Obviously, it's a lot more money, than what was budgeted for it, but the overall budget is, it's still within the overall budget. And by postponing it another whole year, that means another whole year is gonna go by potentially before planning for this even start. So by allowing the money to be spent on the planning part of the project, actually, they could actually come up with a whole plan, and we could put a proposal in for 2026 for the implementation of it.
So I think I would be comfortable with what you had sort of initially proposed, Mike, about sending it back to the Conservation Committee and seeing if they could could either, A, do the project, understanding that, the Copley Wolf estimate's part of, now part of the numbers, and, and come back with something that says, yeah, we can finish the project for the allotted amount. Or, the alternative, go back with a more robust understanding, now you have better numbers for what the survey may cost, for 2026. I agree with the chair, I don't think you can kind of do it halfway, based on what the voters approved.
I'm not sure I understand, so what would you be asking Conservation to do?
Essentially,
Revisit it maybe?
revisit the proposal with the understanding that now the money numbers have to be changed to make it so that the survey number is the 14K, or, whatever it ends up being if TEC came in lower or something like that. And then have some affirmative, plan that would effectuate the rest of the thing, using volunteers or whatever for the remaining, how much is left after that?
4,000.
Right. Otherwise, in absence of that, going to the Conservation Committee and saying, okay, we need to revise this and repropose this for town meeting 2026.
Is there any potential of getting additional grants to make up the difference? Because I'd be open to that as well.
That's always a possibility.
What was the original expected cost of the?
18,
No, I mean, that's total. I'm talking just to produce the scope of work from the firms. What were they, what was the
I think
anticipated?
it was
cost there?
$1,000 for planning, and then there was an
20
additional 11,000 for easements and legal costs.
no, it was a total of 3,500, trail specialist, and then planning and design, so it was about 3,500. But, obviously, those numbers go back to almost 5 years, so.
And have we gotten a no from TEC? I mean, TEC, we work with TEC pretty well throughout the.
I mean,
throughout the
I can
town,
have
so I was
Rebecca
wondering
Pokem again, but again, she's been submitted these in April, so if they have, I'd imagine if they haven't heard back by now, they're either not interested or.
But I'm surprised they wouldn't say they weren't interested. I mean, they work with us regularly. I mean,
Sure.
they're there with us, so I'm surprised there's no answer whatsoever. That would be. I mean, I agree with the doing only partial for the same cost, right? The town voted on 18,000 for the proposal and only doing partial of it. I mean, it really depends on what partial means. Is it partial 75%? Is it 50%? What is it at where I would be able to make a better determination of, okay, that's acceptable, right? Because changes do come, costs go up. The town understand, everyone understands that part of it. I'd just be interested to see a little bit more, to know.
So,
Well, maybe even what the additional completion cost would be,
Right.
no one going into it.
well, again, it depends how it's done. So if you want me to take this back to Conservation and for us to say, if we spent $14,000 on planning and what that company wants to do, or a similar one of,
I'm open to, if you want to get a quote from someone else.
yeah,
that-
I have another company that I gave to Annie, but she didn't check on it, so,
All right, well, let's just table it for now and circle back next month.
yeah, so I will try to come back with perhaps another quote potential other grants that could apply and what the commission says about doing a lot of the work, which was the original idea anyway, with volunteers. How's that sound?
Yeah.
Sounds reasonable.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So is that something we should have a vote on?
No, it's just a discussion, update, no need to.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, next up, CPA plan edits. So I started going through, I read through the master plan and the housing production plan and tried to pick off goals from those that were aligned with CPA requirements to kind of try and put those into the areas. But as I was going through, I was feeling like we should bounce a couple of these around before we add them in here. And then furthermore, a little further down the agenda, I have a discussion on moving the deadlines for the new project submission. And I have included in there a possible schedule of something we could use for that. So I feel like that all is gonna go into the CPA plan, so now would be the time to run through it. And I think with the idea of these being, to kind of rehash the goals sections in the CPA plan. One thing I wasn't able to find I was looking for the open space and recreation plan. But that was not, it was referenced in the master plan, and I took a couple bullet points out of that, but I couldn't find the actual completed plan. Of course, I was doing it over the weekend, so I didn't have a chance to ask anybody.
You want me to send you that?
Please. So that being said, I guess I'll run through some of the things I pulled off the master plan, and we can, kind of hit them one at a time and see if they check any of the boxes, and we could, if it's something we wanted to add as goals in those particular areas. So improve public parking on School Street with striped parking spaces, landscape lighting and signage to encourage people to park there for events at Elm Square.
Yeah. Thank you for being here and pointing me in the right direction. This one.
I think parking is a big challenge for the Elm Square area, just in general, to get people down for whatever we want to have them down for.
We do have that municipal lot right there.
Right.
Yeah.
The
But-
old, what's that, the old water department? Or-
But anything we can do to, provide more access, I think is something that should be under strong consideration.
I feel like it's a very underutilized portion of town.
Agree, and it's.
It's beautiful.
Exactly. I think it's an underutilized portion of town that has a lot of upside. Yeah, I agree. So, just conceptually,
Yeah.
any sort of ways that we can use CPA funds to improve the access to that area, I think that's sort of step one to
I
get.
think that's going to prove to be complicated, trying to get more parking lots, things of that nature. But I think, the landscape and lighting, signage, make it a more inviting type of atmosphere, I think is all there. And whatever we can do on the parking, great, but
Right.
I don't know how much of that we could do.
Well, Shanahan Park is the perfect example, right? I mean, so, that was a CPA project that what it did was increase parking and access to, a resource that we would like more use of. So I mean, I think we might not be as limited as you might think.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, School Street, you're talking School Street into Elm Park,
Yeah,
that's 97?
yep. Is that state?
It's not allowed to be parked on. It's legally, you are not supposed to be parking on that 97.
Oh.
Like in front of Jerry's, all right there, that's no parking. It's supposed to be no parking,
Gotcha.
as per DOT. Yeah, so
All right.
I don't think the lining can happen on that side, maybe on the interior,
Yeah, but-
that cut through.
The Elm Park,
Yeah.
that the interior, you have to be very cautious and go crawl to get
Oh,
by
yeah.
2 cars.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
that's not a, I lived there, yeah,
That's, is that one way?
I think it is one way.
It, because there's a one-way sign on one end, but there is not on the other end, so I'm like,
Yeah.
not quite.
It's one way unless you're going in the middle, then you don't.
That's true.
But-
I-
It's true, yeah.
When your place in Oz was there?
It's two-way. On,
It
if you
is.
go in the split
Yeah.
to go in, you can't go, it's
Well,
one
if
way
you're
going to the stores, going into the mini mall.
Yeah.
You can take a left there, you can't come in that way, but if you go in that side road off of School Street, you can take a right.
Yeah.
But if
and go
you
up.
come in off of Gardner Street, you can take a right into Elm Park, too.
Yeah.
But, no,
You can't get in off of Main Street, and you can't.
Right.
That's the only thing, you can't come off of Main.
but do you think that's clear?
They just the do not enter that's on Main,
Sign's
so that's
been
the
up
only.
there for the last 40 years, no country.
Yeah, but there's just one, I think it just depends on where you come in when you see the sign.
It still doesn't add parking, no matter how you can
No.
come in.
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah,
basic,
true.
Parking is the issue, right?
yeah.
We did add the additional, we just passed a bylaw that the parking spaces over at the water department are now eligible spaces for businesses. As part of the business district, it was only, you had to have a certain amount of spaces within 500 feet. We've now extended that to 1,000 feet to now say that businesses that want to build in downtown, they can now park in next to the water department and
Use those to satisfy.
use those slots as part of
the
your.
requirements of how much parking you need, yeah.
There was an extensive study done on Elm Square and parking, came up with tons of recommendations. I don't think the town's done a few things on there, but not much, but a lot of what you're talking about here, so.
Yeah, I literally copy pasted these from the master
Did you-
plan.
oh,
So and now, as the planning board, we are starting to work through the master plan to go through item by item. We talked about, I forget what it was last month, but going forward, when we don't have a busy agenda and other things, we are now looking at master plan and saying, okay, who do we have to reach out to? Who would own this section going through the master plan and moving forward for the future? So
Yeah.
we do have a.
I would
plan in
imagine
place.
keep CPA in mind while you're doing it, right?
Yep.
All these things could be.
Yeah, absolutely. There are things that are on here, on the master plan that call out, I think Rebecca put a nice spreadsheet together, and it says which committees are going to be utilized for each of these products, and the CPC is definitely on there.
Have you ever, has planning ever seen that study of parking for Elm Square?
I know it was done prior to my coming on.
Yeah.
I have seen it briefly because of businesses that would want to come in, and we kind
Yeah.
of looked at it and made establishments, and okay, can we give a variance based on that? But I haven't looked at it in a while, so. But yes, we have it, and we do look at it.
So.
It says there's X amount, I forget how many
That
parking
too.
spots they said it was.
You know that space, well, there's a dumpster there too, where that family hair cutting.
Yes.
There's like a little,
Sure.
that's
John Val
there,
salon.
no, not John Val, that other place that's on
Oh, yeah.
Main Street.
The other side,
So,
yeah.
can anyone park there, or is that
That's
just for those
private.
business?
That's the mini malls,
Okay.
that's their only parking. The parking out front on Elm, that's public parking.
Okay.
And then behind the building where you have the
Yeah,
salon, and it's
yes.
the backside of the restaurant, and the
That's
laundromat,
Heart of Stone, that one.
the Heart of Stone, the laundromat, that's
Yeah.
all those are dedicated space, that's private property, that's all for
Okay.
them. That's why the dumpsters are there, for those
That-
businesses, yep.
okay.
All right, so do we want to add that to what, like, open space goals? Or general overall? I was trying to see how we can work this into the plan, so, you know.
Some of it would cover, some of it not.
What was Shannon Park called? That was recreation.
Recreation,
Yeah, so this is different than that.
I think so. Well,
If you're saying people want to walk downtown and
Yeah,
stroll and enjoy all that is downtown Groveland, maybe that is recreation.
Yeah, right.
again,
It feels like a stretch in my.
It would have to, it would have to be open space. It wouldn't meet any other requirements. I can't see it being recreation, historic.
there's nothing there to recreate aside from walking around.
Not historic, it's, yeah.
Well, it could be, there's, further on down, there's a lot of talk about making Elm Square historic.
Until that happens, though, is a different
Right.
story, yeah. And I don't know if parking would goes along with that.
No,
No, again,
it's not gonna help the pocket.
No, it's fair.
we can leave that one right out, there's
Yeah.
800 other things to choose from.
Yeah.
No, but conceptually, it's a good idea to be discussing.
Yeah,
So this is healthy, whether we can get it in, where we can fit it or not.
Well, the next
Useful discussion.
one actually kind of ties into the parking as well. that
Right.
We discussed at the last meeting.
all right, well, let me jump right into it.
Post office?
Begin discussions with the owners of the gas station and the US Post Office site about redeveloping those properties to link Elm Square with waterfront views of the Merrimack River. Consider a land use study of the two properties that examines uses such as a cafe, restaurant, parking, and green space to create a defined gateway to Groveland from Haverhill and establishes a continuous link of green space from Merrimack River to Gardner Street.
So I can probably speak on that one as well.
Please do.
We did have that discussion last meeting at the planning board. The gas station has been approved by DOT for Star Construction to move his business in there. You might have noticed a couple of the trucks have already come and parked out there. I think since I just noticed the glass office space has been painted white, so you can't see inside of there. He is on the agenda for tomorrow night on the planning board to discuss the next steps. As far as we know, there's been no communication from the owner of the whole property, the entire property, to sell. There's no interest
He
there.
has no interest in making a gateway to.
I think the price would be astronomically high, and we would have to come up with some money in order to pay to purchase that property. I think that everyone here would agree that that would be fantastic if we were able to own that piece of land coming into Groveland from Haverhill over the bridge. We could make something really nice and special. But we did discuss it further to see if there's any other potential off the backside of those units to make any type of public space and
So-
frontage.
The guy that's moving in there now is just renting it off the owner?
He's renting it off the owner, yep. But he had to get approval because of the in and out on the DOT side coming off of the
Yeah, it is a-
113. It's pretty tight in there. There has to be some changes,
How to
curb
make
cutting,
your
things
life in
like
your
that.
hands, can
Yeah,
you?
it's tough. It's tight.
That's not the gateway to Groveland.
So the planning board's looking, it's very minimal usage. There's only allowed to have two people in there at any time, the owner, and if he wants to bring in a client to do a review, and it's really more storage for his heavy equipment in the garage bays, things like that.
Why don't we send him to School Street, the other places? I mean, he owns this property, but couldn't we send him to School Street down, the old water department and say, do this, we'll exchange it?
The owner, you're talking the owner of the property? Yeah. There has been zero communication with the owner of the owner of the property. All we know is the rental, the renter of the
Okay.
gas station. And then obviously the other renter
This is the post office.
is the post office, which is, who knows how long that lease, we don't know, I don't know how long the lease is on that or what.
So that's not a matter of public record because it's a post office? I mean, I know it's
I
private.
I just haven't looked into it. I haven't
Oh,
asked to
it's
see
just-
if
I don't
there's,
know if
yeah.
it's- But,
There's also restrictions because of the river. You're not allowed to put,
We had a gas
behind the
station.
old gas station, there's scrub brush that's grown up. But you're not allowed to park vehicles behind there because it's within a certain X number of feet of proximity to the river.
yeah, but isn't he gonna store his equipment? Oh, in the garage?
Inside.
Oh, so that's, okay.
If he leaves it and parks it back out back, he'll have a Christmas
What
card
kind of
on his
business is
desk,
it?
like, from
Star Construction.
Oh,
basically,
construction.
Yeah, it's,
you know, because you're not allowed to park any equipment out back there. The parking spaces for what used to be Greg Stark's building,
Yeah,
those are all grandfathered in, because they've been there, well, since 1900.
so that goes with that building,
Yes,
those parking places.
Yes. and
He
same thing-
needed a variance in order to move that business in there because he had such limited parking between him and the post office. We had to grant him a variance, but that had to do with the restriction of how many people he could have in the building. You know, he was allowed to, park one or two vehicles plus the owner's vehicle, and that was about it. So he only has four total spots. I forget exactly what it is, Patrick, but I think it was like
Same thing
4
with
spots.
Norwood Insurance, next to the other side.
Yeah.
They own the driveway is right up to
Right.
the edge of the existing post office. And they put up Jersey barriers in
Yeah.
the back so nobody would go through. But that was in there prior to zoning, so that can still stay, but you still can't park anything out back there.
But I mean, as far as this project in itself, I think we definitely leave it on here for future in hopes that maybe at some point in time, the current owner would be willing to move forward, doesn't want to do anything with it, wants to sell it, and we are ready to do it and jump on it if we can, because it would be a great space to do if we could.
Is there
Whatever.
anything we can do legally to ask that we be first point of refusal if he were to decide to sell, or?
I don't know what we have as public,
Yeah.
entity to do that. Regardless, I don't think he can grant that.
I just-
No,
He
it's
can- he
private
can-
property.
It's
right?
private property, it would be, but we would obviously, it'd be it would be
We would
publicly
know, yeah.
noticed, and everyone else would have a say into put a bid in for it at the time, if the time was right.
On the positive side, at least at a very minimum, there is some road work that's being done to make that a little bit better accessible, and that's happening, and that's part of the,
It sounds like they might be cleaning the building up a little bit too, which is nice to see.
He is.
yeah, oh, well, compared to what it, currently is, right? So
That's what we're gonna see, sorry. That's what we're gonna see. He actually has to come in with a landscape design, lighting design. That is the next steps that he has to come in front of the planning board. So I think there was gonna be some like shingle, the roof work was gonna be completed. He was gonna put new lights on there. He was gonna repaint some of the doors, and he was gonna clean up the exterior as well. That was part of it. And then coming in, even on the back side, I think we discussed having some type of signage when you drive over the bridge, and that's the first kind of you see it. I think there was some, like you saw with a full lease sign or some tagging
yeah.
or whatever it
Yeah.
was. It was discussion of putting up the proper signage and stuff.
But the entrance to the construction company and the post office is the same entrance?
Yes,
Yeah.
And same exit?
yes.
Yeah.
So he has to put lines in. He needed to get DOT approval in order to do that.
I don't even remember it being really that wide.
It's not. We were very surprised that
Gateway
DOT
to-
passed it.
Gateway to Groveland was not.
We were very
It used to be a
surprised.
lot- It used to be a lot wider
Correct.
before they built the new bridge.
When the bridge was put
When
in.
they built the new
Right,
bridge, they
right.
raised the grade about
What-
5 feet.
Yeah, I'm just
and put
thinking
the-
about safety.
Put the guardrail in with the end post for the bridge. In where, years ago, I used to just drive in to when George Cullen owned it, and get a sticker right there.
Yeah.
That's all,
But the building is not changing on the exterior. He's gonna clean up the back
Yeah.
landscaping and, I think the fence that's kind of knocked down back there, that's gonna be ripped out. He's gonna it'll be cleaned up. It'll definitely look a lot nicer. That was one of our main points is, okay, this needs to be cleaned up. But the parking, he has minimal room there because it's shared spaces between the post office and that's where we had to really determine, hey, you need to limit your hours, your traffic in and out, how many people you could have in the building at one time, because you have the post office, which is owned by the same owner, and you need to be able to have ample parking
Does the
there.
post office still have the same number of parking places? Like,
Yep,
In an effort to get done tonight.
yeah. It's staying on, keep it on,
Moving on.
yeah.
All right.
We can talk about this anytime.
If property owners show interest in the use of historic tax credits, submit an application to place Elm Park on the National Register of Historic Places.
Holy tamale. Let me just
it's
check.
kind of one of those double-edged swords, right? So
Oh,
you
everything
wanna
costs
see-
more once you do that.
What's that?
Everything costs more once you do that.
Well, that's one thing, and then what can you change, and how can you change things? And I mean, are we then, locked into a laundromat for for 40 years
Right, yeah, again,
because it's historic?
copy paste.
Right.
These are not original
No,
ideas.
it's just it is.
oh, hey.
It's
John-
not necessarily a great idea, even though it may sound, like.
Yeah.
at
This,
first
this,
thought.
this application would have to come from the historic committee anyway, and then to us, to approve that.
Yeah.
So until they're ready for that, I think there's still plans, and Mike, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think there's still a lot of work to be done there, and just decisions that had to be made in order for that to even come close to happening, but I think that if everything was in alignment, we would be obviously for that if that were the case, but they
Yeah.
would, that's on them.
But again, I think this might have been one of the further
Yep.
out, the 5 to 10 year goals.
Yep.
Next up, conduct a feasibility study for some of the community desires for the Pines, including walking trails along and new access to the Merrimack River for boating and recreation. The plan should include other components such as the following: signs for the existing trails, expanding the trail network, adding an amphitheater or other performance venue, splash pad, expanding bathrooms and parking, include the availability of grants and a timeline for phasing the improvements in the study. Was that study done prior to, we just did a whole bunch of parking enhancements over there. I picked my daughter up the boat ramp Saturday. It looked all brand new.
Yep.
So I feel like some of those things may have been touched. I
Oh,
don't know.
yeah, some of
Yep.
them,
Yeah.
the splash pad, the bathrooms, the parking, those are definitely been done.
Along the same vein, I'm working with Rebecca and some other folks about improving the lighting at the Pines, and that is looking to be a potential project for 2026. So
Excellent.
it is, with this concept, there is a lot of activity going on. You've seen the pickleball courts, heard about this.
Skate parks going in.
Right. So it is definitely, this is definitely something that there's progress being made on the ground and also, getting ready for new projects. So this would be evergreen.
And from us, from our funds.
Yep.
Right, it's,
Oh, yeah, no, there's all kinds of, community garden down there too.
yep.
All right, next up, work with the Groveland Rec Committee to develop goals for programming and events in Elm Square and investigate the potential for linked events between Elm Square and the Pines. Programming for Elm Square could include farmers markets, seasonal activities, concerts, game areas, bocce, et cetera. The committee may need additional capacity and resources for this additional task and may consider experimenting with pop-up events and activities as part of a wider community programming effort.
I don't think that CPA can pay for events.
No, but if we wanted to put in horseshoe pits down
Yes,
there, I
if we-
imagine that would be a recreation
If you
thing.
wanted to put in some kind of
Isn't the parking still
concert
an issue?
place, if you wanted to put in a bocce court, those kind of things you could do.
Yeah,
It can't, it's a parking issue still, right?
Yep.
Yes.
They did have a bike race down there this weekend.
Ooh,
It was a
up and down the road?
set up right on, well, they started in Elm Park.
Okay.
They had the tent set up and they were giving out, but I saw all the cyclists event in the middle of downtown there, Saturday.
Yeah, I think our role is probably limited to structures and things like that and that kind of stuff. So if you're talking about having events, like, okay, well, where could you cite, a small amphitheater? I'm not quite sure, but.
no, I agree, like I say,
But maybe now, like, if Shanahan Park now has parking, then maybe there's more opportunity to have something over there, something small, that you could have, a community event, or, maybe you could cite something at VZ Park. I'm not, 100% sure, but, we don't really have a place where people could gather for like Shakespeare in the Park or something like that. And so, if,
I feel like that Pines would be a more appropriate place for that, just with the parking and
well,
the ease of getting.
parking is sort of like one of the like, hallmark issues of any sort of gathering we wanna encourage, 100%. So it's the Pines, or now Shanahan Park, or maybe VZ, or, if we can, sort of rejigger the area around, using the municipal lot now as sort of, okay, this is where you're gonna park when you come downtown, and you're gonna have to walk a little bit, but
It's honestly, it's not even that bad a walk.
it's
just crossing
not
the
far.
street.
No, it's not.
It's really not.
It's,
And
it just
completely
depends,
inconvenient,
it depends
but-
on who can do the walk.
Yeah.
Oh, no, fair.
That's,
It
Yeah,
has to be accessible and all that sort of stuff, yeah.
Are there any handicap parking spots in Elk Park? I was just thinking.
Yes.
no.
yeah.
Are there?
across from the, right where the,
I think the
at
first
the, at the
two,
laundromat, I think the first
Oh,
two or
okay,
three
right.
are handicap. And there's a handicap at the post office as well.
Yes, I know there is.
Not public parking, but it's handicap.
Good luck with that.
handicap in the municipal lot too.
What's that?
There's handicap in that municipal lot too.
Correct. I don't know if there's any along the river there, on the backside at
Stark and
Stark.
Cronk.
What's that?
At Stark and Cronk, is there a couple handicap spots over on that side?
Never noticed
No.
a sign.
No. I don't.
I know that people went in to talk to Rebecca about handrails coming from the municipal parking lot down to the Pines. And, you know, where are we gonna get handicapped accessible railings?
From up here
You mean
down
from-
there?
Yes.
Yes, they're,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
They're ordered.
Yeah, they're
They're
absolutely,
working on it,
yeah, they're absolutely going.
Yeah.
And then,
No, and it makes sense that they would, but I mean, it isn't overly convenient, you know, that whole convenient thing.
Well,
I mean,
I err on the,
Exploit
something's better than
Elkhart.
nothing.
Right.
It's so for a family, young kids, having to park up there and come down to when the Pines
Yeah.
is packed, walking down that hill with the kids and having a path is very, like with a carriage now, you know, that
Right,
kind of stuff.
yeah.
And like you said, handicap, you have a little bit more parking and there will be the railings that'll be there, but
Yeah,
if you need
okay.
to get a wheelchair down there, it would,
right,
and that's
Yeah.
part of the whole point of putting that in was
Right.
wheelchair accessibility.
right, yeah.
It's a walk and you're still hitting the hill, right? The ramp
And
is.
it's not an easy, even with help, that is,
Right.
even with railings, that's not gonna be an easy thing.
Moving on, develop a comprehensive.
Moving on.
So I'm just trying, there's a
No,
lot.
no,
I just wanna-
Fine work.
100%.
All good.
Develop a comprehensive wayfinding signage program that helps brand the Elm Square area, including signs welcoming people to the square, informational signage about the history, and directional signage to public parking and the community trail. This could include a welcome to Groveland sign on the bridge from Haverhill.
There you go.
Well, it's an optimistic approach, but, I mean, you know, when we're talking about some of these projects, including, you know, the trail improvements project, we're talking about signage. So, you know, like, I think the board's been pretty receptive to the concept of making sure you bake in your signage to your project.
Oh,
And
100%.
so having separate projects for, like, you know, town signage may not be as important, you know, or might be covered by some of this stuff.
Right. Integrate a public street furniture plan for Elm Square into the complete streets improvements. This should include bike storage, benches, trash and recycling bins, and continuing the current pedestrian-scaled lighting. The town could also consider a change of materials as sidewalks are reconstructed to provide an identity for the streetscape that is unique to Groveland.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I feel like that one fits well, that Park could definitely use a couple of benches.
We're on it.
Another big belly compactor, perhaps?
Yeah, right. We got one on the way.
That shakes out. Evaluate the feasibility of and acquire lands for the expansion of the townwide trail network linkages to connect Community Trail to Johnson's Creek drainage and the Meadow Pond VZ Memorial Park area.
I mean, I do think that there would be some real value, like, people use the rail trail.
Yeah.
And if you had a system that connected that sort of, you know, spoked out all throughout Groveland, I think people would use it if it was all linked. And so anything that, you know, sort of connects some of these trails and makes them more like, you know, uniform is.
I feel like the one thing that's missing is like that, this is where you go to the trail, there's plenty of parking, park your car, get on your bike, head down. I mean.
You need to
Shanahan-
connect somehow to the municipal parking lot.
Or Shanahan, or the Pines.
Yeah, or the pine, exactly. No, agree.
They are trying, they're working now to connect in certain areas and within, I want to, Mike would know. Georgetown, and then there's someone
that trail.
else
Oh.
that's also trying to tie in
Haverhill,
as
yeah.
well, Haverhill, and then to tie in from other towns as well. So other towns are starting to now connect into it as well, so
Yeah,
it's an ongoing
That's a good thing.
effort.
right.
All right, begin conversations with the Division of Fisheries and Wildlife to enhance access to open space for passive recreation and work together to evaluate options for one or more formal trailheads to provide more access, including to residents of the new development on Sewell Street, adjacent to the Upper Parker River Wildlife Management Area. Explore options to link the community trail to access point.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah, it sounds like, well, just like the other one.
Yep.
Yep.
Undertake a feasibility study to determine the best location for a community trail access point with adequate public parking and a potential mixed-use node at the southern end of the corridor near the Georgetown line. As part of the study, explore developing other access points along the community trail which incorporate public parking and amenities. Continue to work with the Division of Fisheries and Wildlife and other owners of conservation lands open to the public for passive recreation to create and link access points. So, a whole lot
This
of,
stuff
a
is
whole lot of repeating. We really want these things
connected.
connected together, and we really like Elm Park.
I'm guessing that's the case, yeah.
Yes.
Acquire land as necessary to begin development of a community trail access node at the southern end of the corridor.
We're into that.
You'll never guess what the next one is.
That's about the community
Oh,
trail.
new community trail.
Construct the new community
With
trail
public-
access point with public parking and amenities.
Yeah, okay.
Partner with landowners, developers, businesses to design and develop synergistic uses at all potential community trail access
What does that
points.
mean?
Sounds like a great idea.
Yeah,
It does sound like a good idea.
sounds just like the 10 before it. Implement the housing production plan and the affordable housing implementation plan to support the needs of seniors, first-time home buyers, and others who require assistance with housing.
Yeah,
More
so-
more on that later, because I pulled the
Ongoing.
particulars out of that.
There's just, it goes on, right?
We've got those two projects this year that are kind of,
The start of all that.
yes, yes, there will be kind of a proving ground about some of this stuff.
Yeah, it feels like Rebecca is,
Yep.
is on board on pushing those.
It's definitely ongoing.
Oh, 100%.
It's definitely ongoing, yeah.
Work with the Groveland Historic Commission to update the Massachusetts Historic Commission's 1985 reconnaissance survey and identify which historic assets have been placed on the National Register of Historic Places and which are eligible but not yet listed.
Do we have a list of those?
Sounds like Kim was talking about this.
Washington Hall,
There
almost.
you go.
Right.
That's gonna be my question. Does it
Three
really
buil-
just
three
start at
buildings.
Washington Hall?
That were on the,
On the register?
yeah,
What are they?
The church?
no private homes.
Private homes?
Yeah,
Gotcha. Okay.
and I don't know how long they've been on, but they've been on a long time.
But I researched it through the assessor's office, and the only way you can do it is to go
Yeah,
through every.
property by property.
Property by property, and then you have to go and explore the property to make sure it hasn't been changed dramatically to get rid of all the historic aspects.
Right.
I mean, you got a couple houses, you got one that just came on the market on Main Street along the river between the center of town and where Estes used to be. Well, actually between there and Shanahan. And 1787 was built.
Wow.
And if you wanna plunk down 990-something.
Is that the one they just redid?
No, that one there, the one of the.
Right at the, yeah.
At the junction, that came on the market at 1.2 million.
No.
Yeah, yeah,
Which one?
the gray house that.
In Elm's, in Elm?
No.
Across
Well, they
from
can come on the
Shanahan, right
market
where
or
the
whatever it was.
merges.
Oh, yeah. They redid everything.
It's still available. We'll see what the sale price is.
All right.
But it is pricey.
Work with landowners to put land into permanent protection programs, especially parcels that abut existing conservation land. So we want to expand the conservation lands. Sounds reasonable. Develop a management plan for the maintenance, enhancement, and potential expansion of open space, especially those with trails, as well as the preservation and enjoyment of historical resources. Continue to connect off-street trails to on-street, complete streets improvements. I'm not even gonna pretend to know what that means.
I don't, yeah, what is the complete streets improvement?
That's when when they're redoing the sidewalks and they put in the, the breakdown lanes wide enough for a bike lane.
Oh,
And
okay.
the signage for the bikes and all
Oh,
that.
I get you, all right.
So they're getting a bunch of grants from the state to do
That's what
that
makes it
on the
complete
complete streets. Develop a community-wide branding program for signage that would include new gateway signs, signs to identify historic resources and areas, directional signs for public parks, public parking, and community trail access, and district identifiers for Elm Square, South Groveland, and Route 97. Engage the community in the discussions.
The inbound on Main Street from West Newbury, that Groveland sign is quite nice. It would be a good template for.
I can't say that I've ever seen it.
It's right,
It's gotta be right at the school,
It's
right?
right by the
it's
school,
right, it's right at the new entrances.
but it looks great. It looks great and it's been there,
Yeah.
as long as I know.
All right, good to
So
know.
take a look next time you're driving from Newburyport back.
I'm gonna take a ride when I leave here. Complete design, fabricate, and install community-wide signage,
Signage is a big thing.
highlight gateways, natural resources, trail networks, historic resources.
Roadways would be also. Within Elm Park.
And then begin a community-based feasibility study for a new community or senior center, including the needs, potential locations, and possible programming.
Oh, God.
I did that a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that was a.
Isn't that something that was
was a
discussed at
smashing
Strawberry
success.
Fields?
That was a
I-
smashing success, that last.
Yeah,
I mean, so,
it's been discussed at numerous different times.
yeah.
I even still got the design sitting at home.
We actually,
If we were looking to do that, there's that land in behind, on that town property. But that was, that was our original hope, that would be where the senior and community center would be.
Yeah, it was.
Back in the day.
It was designed for that, and I've got the design and I brought it with the
Yeah, but
budget.
that was like, what's this?
I brought it before the finance board, they approved it, went to town meeting,
It was expensive.
and.
Was it expensive at the time that other things were?
Yeah, well, now
equally
we're gonna add another, probably $500,000 to it.
Right.
well, that's it. We actually just completed a job in Wayland where they built a new community center / senior center, and they did it with CPA funds. And the building's beautiful. It's got, big, like, dance floor, like cafeteria
Yeah.
thing, the
Yeah.
library with TVs. Like, they did a really nice job.
Piece of property right over. Well, if you
It
could,
seems like there, other than costing a huge sum of money, which would probably cost more now,
Yeah.
I think there's a way that we can use the community buildings that we have maybe, and think about it that way as opposed to, a $17 million standalone unit.
well, as long as it's got parking and access to the trails, I mean,
And we have
check all the
we
signs
can
for
do
it.
is check all the boxes. You can't have a signage program if you don't have stuff to do. So, all right, here's our community center where all the community meets. Hey, look, you can take your bike and go on all the community trails that are now linked in a beautiful network to get to Georgetown or Haverhill or West Newbury.
Okay.
I'm not saying they only talked to 3 people putting that master plan together. But,
But whoever was on signs got a big, and
yeah, signs and trails
I
got
see,
to.
they're very well mentioned.
All right. Next up, the housing production plan, and I'm not reading all these, we'll just hit the headlines here. Investigate models that address creation of starter homes that are right-sized.
What does that mean?
I think they're
It's
right
like
size
small.
under 1,800 square feet or right around there is.
Yeah.
Is smaller, this,
Oh, yeah, I see it.
I think it's funny saying that 100 square feet is a smaller
Small.
house.
Yeah.
but
Considering I grew up in 900.
I know it's the times that we live in,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We're in Groveland and we have
Yeah.
houses that are 3,000 square
Yeah.
feet, but 1,800
Craziness.
is still a very,
Yeah.
very
Large
nice,
house? Yep.
single-family home.
Yeah. I think they're looking for like the little two-bedroom, start a home, married couple, have a kid, something to, to get going.
How would
Affordable,
we do that? It would have to be the development,
correct.
right?
Yeah, we could,
And all that that means.
there's some level of, the affordable housing component of what we do. could
That's what
be,
the affordable housing is, yeah. Something
Steered
that's not
into
eight,
that.
not something that's not $800,000, that it's $400,000 or whatever.
It's disgusting to think that $400,000 is affordable.
I know, I
Yeah.
know.
Kidding,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
It is crazy.
At 7%.
Coming down.
Coming down is right.
Review and utilize private and municipally owned property to develop housing that supports community needs.
Same thing.
It's kind of a no-brainer.
Okay, yeah.
Collaborate with the Groveland Housing Authority to increase the supply of affordable housing and maximize staffing capacity.
So I think that we've already kind of moved forward with that because of the new bylaws that we just passed of creating the fund that now can be used and
Yeah.
utilized now.
Yeah.
And we can kind of move forward.
It's really gonna come down to how we implement using it.
Correct. Now we can actually utilize the funds. Before we couldn't do anything with them, they just
Right.
sat there. Now we can actually do it.
These are the funds that contractors play so that they don't have to build affordable housing?
In
Yeah.
lieu of, yes.
Yeah. In lower. How much is that?
I don't know
Million.
the math of how it works.
About $1 million.
About $1 million for each development?
It depends.
No, that's what's in there now.
Okay.
No, she means like how much you have to pay to.
How much does
in
it
lieu-
cost?
it's-
It depends on-
It's a
it depends.
mathematical, like,
Depends how many units you build and how
Yeah.
many you needed to build.
It's supposed to be 10% of the housing is supposed to be affordable, right?
Right.
Right, so is it 10% of what they're building?
Probably not.
No, I'm sure it's, weighted to the contractor's favor.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Let me repeat myself.
All right. Areas from 2020 to 2027, open space and rec plan that could potentially be CPA projects. Protect Groveland's water resources, particularly its aquifers.
Is repair and, sort of refitting, various structures in, that would be water structures, is that something within CPA authority? Maintenance isn't.
Maintenance
but is-
isn't, but
But is,
remodeling.
if you're rebuilding an aquifer, say, is that,
Isn't an
Would that-
aquifer a natural occurring?
well, I mean, right.
The dam.
I don't,
The-
Forgive
the
my water
Use the dam,
malknowledge,
use
but
the
the
dam
point
as
is
the
there are
example.
structures that are involved, dams and things and,
Yeah,
whatnot that we've been talking about. No, the point is fair.
I see where you're going with it.
Right. I wonder if,
If you-
some of these problems that we're having, we're seeking grants for various things and whatnot, and I'm wondering if CPA can be a tool to also do some of the rebuilding of some of the infrastructure, not maintenance of things, but I wonder.
I think it would have to be
Certainly, please.
very
Targeted
well worded
and very targeted. I
and very,
agree.
targeted, but, I mean,
Why not?
suppose there's a chance.
Why not?
Yeah, maybe that's too close to repair or maintenance. I don't
I don't,
We'll
It-
put
it would
a,
all-
we'll
Well,
put a
it's-
sign on it that says,
what,
know. Signage is okay.
the signage would help.
what box does that check, right? It's not open space, it's not necessarily historic, it's not recreation.
Well, it's conservation. It would be like open spaces, I guess. You'd be protecting
Yeah,
open
but
spaces.
if you're building infrastructure in the open space.
To protect the open space.
No.
I could see the argument.
Yeah.
There's an argument there,
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
far as it pertains to aquifer waters and building a dam to
Right.
be able to
Right,
maintain.
right now I'm wondering, not proposing.
I mean,
I think
I
it's,
could entertain it, but it'd have to be really,
No, I think you're right, and I think we would.
It's
need-
walking a
we would-
real fine line.
We would also want council to weigh in and see if like that made sense and things like that.
be stretching.
But,
We'd be
but
stretching.
again, right, okay.
We'd be,
yeah, 100%.
we'd be stretching.
I agree.
Dance on that line, just don't cross
Worst,
it.
worst than anybody could say is no.
yeah.
True.
Accurate. All right.
And fixing water issues in this town would be very popular.
I think
You
that's
know,
true.
I mean, everybody has a complaint about their
Yeah.
water.
Protect the small-town rural character of Groveland. That's the most generic statement. Yes, agreed.
What are we gonna do to do?
I don't know.
That would nix all the signage, get rid of all signage. Now it's-
And all the community trails too.
Right.
I don't know
Get rid
about
of the
that.
parking. We don't
Yep.
want
Yeah,
it.
we don't
in the
want
park.
parking.
Right.
No new houses.
If we only had a barn or something. that
It's
people
small
could
town,
go
not no town.
All right. Preserve natural resources, core habitats, open spaces, vistas, greenways, trails, especially land that buffers and enhances conservation land. Sure. Protect recreational land and acquire additional land.
And
Sounds reasonable.
just to go back, it does say on the start of, on the header, this is from 2020 to 2027, open space and recreational plan, potential CPA
Yep.
thing. So it's there. We have a potential.
Well, I mean, I wrote that.
Oh, but
I-
you made it
You're the
real.
chair. I mean,
I mean, oh,
That's good.
again, that was, those bullet points were in the master plan. I haven't seen that open space and rec plan. I'll try and dig more into it, get maybe a little more specific detail.
There's a lot
And
of,
that's a common thread among what this board is doing, and what I think all the boards are starting to move toward is more specificity, more detail, more transparency, more accountability. So, I mean, again, it's not it's not any surprise bummer that, there's some vague things in a proposal from some time ago. But what I think we're trying to drill towards is maybe the next time there's a plan, we'll be a little more specific about what
Agreed.
kinds of things. And I think, there's pretty unanimous support on this board about that concept. And so,
Right.
I'm optimistic seeing that we all are chuckling because we're like, come on, be a little more specific, be a little more accountable, so I think we're getting in the right headspace collectively.
Yep. All right, that's perfect segue into the potential schedule for new applications.
Yeah.
We had talked about this at last meeting. I told you I'd do something better than a cocktail napkin. I feel as though I've succeeded. This is 100% open to, edits and advice. I literally came up with this, shooting from the hip. So my thoughts are September meeting, have our public hearing that we're required to have. During the October meeting, get a high-level overview of potential projects. And again, this is with the goal to help and offer assistance to these people, so we do get the details that we're looking for when the final submissions. But thinking on that, you should have a basic concept, a rough estimate, and a rough timeline. November meeting, detailed overview of potential project, right? So now you've had some help, you've had another month. Now, I'm thinking a detailed concept, some level of accurate estimate and accurate timeline for the project. And again, the goal with this is to help and offer assistance, not to shoot the projects down. Moving the final submission up to December 1st, get your final project submission, a detailed estimate supported by quotes, letters of support, with a record of vote if submitted by a board or a committee. Take a look at the construction documents if applicable, and a detailed implementation timeline. Then come our December meeting, we'll kind of do like we did this year, and just kind of all go over them, have opening statements, thoughts and theories, and just kind of, chew on them. January meeting, have an in-depth review of the applications, as well as the applicant Q&A. We can do multiple meetings if we have to, if there's that numerous amount of projects, or if we can do it in one, great. During that meeting, the applicant presents to the CPC, we have Q&A. We'll have a conversation of whether it's complete and detailed enough, and then, offer an opportunity to amend the application if necessary. February meeting, additional review any amended applications, ensure the project falls under the CPA guidelines, determine if the project falls in line with the CPA plan or the master plan or any other plans that are out there. Theory with that is if we get to a point where there's more projects than money, I would imagine if it were in the plan, it would be a more favorable thing than kind of a one-off project. Spitballing here, I'd love to hear any thoughts anybody has. Then come to the March meeting, have the votes. Gives us enough time to present to the select board, finance board, and get it ready for town meeting.
Looks good to me.
Yeah.
I
9 guys, no comments?
I mean, I like it. It great. It lays it all out. It's pretty clear. month in between.
Yep.
I'm 100% on board. I think what I like most about it is that it's incremental in its approach. So you've got basically a quarter of the year to get your project in. And if you're goofing around and, you're like, oh, I missed, the high level meeting, oh, I better get my stuff together, you still got time to get it in. And people are in the real world doing real life things and having, other competition for their time. So this is good structure where the current situation is so much more shotgun. And
Yeah,
so,
well, it gives an opportunity to,
Well, no,
what
I'm-
Mike ran into with that Washington Hall, unfortunate, but he didn't have enough time to correct that project.
right, 100%. I think if with the quarter of a year to kind of ferret out a project from sort of concept to a final submission, and what I like is it gives us, it's two ways. It's good for the people that are submitting projects, because it gives them a very firm, hey, like, this is how you get in before us and get a live project done. And then on the back end, it helps us to have sufficient time to review. It's like a quarter the other way, where we have a chance to review these projects, talk about them, send stuff back, get counsel from the town, I love it. I don't think I could have done a better job on it. It's great.
High praise indeed.
Mr. Chair,
sir.
I would ask, so final submission would be December 1st. Would we call out and say, it's in your best interest to use September, October, November, but they're optional,
Yeah.
right? So someone doesn't necessarily have to come in September, October, November, if they choose not to. It's not a mandatory. Our deadline is still, you
Right.
need to have a December 1st submission.
Yeah.
And now, but you've now susceptible yourself to a lot of scrutiny, saying, we've given you 3 months to come in here, speak with us, we can walk you through, help you, we'll tell you what we're looking for, we're not looking for, things like
So
that.
you want to make
But
October, November optional?
the September, October, November, well, September's not optional, it's public hearing only, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but October, November would be an optional thing for members if they chose to do it, because it could be someone up here that's already done multiple, right? Say, use Mike for an example. If he's already submitted multiple, he might not need our opinion and back and forth and just be ready to go on December 1st. That's up to him, and just for an example, right?
Well, an example might be that, say, the opportunity to purchase a piece of property didn't come until the end of November.
Right.
And I could put together a proposal in 2 weeks or something. You wouldn't want to exclude that just because I didn't.
No,
have
as
that.
long as, again, I think the way it's written, as long as the final submission is December 1st, but
Right.
I can make the note that October and November are optional, but I don't want them to be. I would prefer,
Preferred. It's,
so,
yes.
In reading it, my assumption was that, that these, as long as you're in by December 1 with a final project, we're going to review it the same as the other projects that used all the extra time and helping back and forth, I suppose. But
They just
it
want-
gives
just don't have the
people,
feedback.
like right now, we just have this is the deadline, get it in
no,
by here or else.
and I mean,
And so-
it's kind of going to work itself out, because if you come in here with a half-ass project
Yeah,
on
yeah, yeah,
December
yeah.
1st,
No, understood.
kick rocks, see you next year.
Right, no,
And you missed your
100%.
opportunity, but I get like what Mike's saying, if, something simple like that came up.
Yeah.
But I mean, any level of project, I mean,
I
gonna-
thought we said the last time that if it was like a very complicated, multifaceted project, that we would want them to start in October.
Oh, for sure.
yeah.
And if it was a simple one, then they could come in later.
Yeah, again, I mean,
That's how I
that's,
remember.
yeah, if the deadline's December 1st, the deadline's December 1st,
Right.
right? We're not going to turn anybody away.
Right.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I think this is just providing folks additional opportunities,
Right.
and there's no downside to doing that. Because the deadline is still the deadline, but now we have some extra time to review a project, and that is favorable to somebody who wants to submit a project. Or they have some extra like nudges to say, hey, maybe you should get your stuff together. And if they come in with a great project on December 1, we'll review it like all the other projects that are in on December 1.
Well, we're
and
trying to set
with the
them
same scrutiny.
To
Trying to set them
succeed.
up to succeed.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the bottom line, so
You
they,
can lead the horse to water and can't make it drink.
But this is good because we didn't have this you know, for this
Right.
past year, for example. So on our side, saying, okay, how are we gonna evaluate these projects? You know, so I think this is great. I love it.
Great outline.
Yeah, this is really good.
I think we should adopt it.
I think that we should move the March task to February. I think we should try to close by the end of February, because if we are waiting till mid-March, I think we're gonna have a problem communicating the projects to the other boards.
And then getting it in time for the.
And I don't see why we can't end, you know, maybe late in February. Even if.
Yeah, I mean, we could do a second February.
With that,
Right,
is-
have
I was
two.
gonna say, do we do 2 meetings in February?
Yeah.
Our goal being, you know,
Also,
February
yeah.
28th,
We're
so
kinda
you can
done.
put like February
I'll just do second
meetings.
February
Second,
meeting.
second
Yeah,
meeting, yeah.
that's fine.
Because that would buy us, you know, 2 or 3 weeks potentially.
Yeah.
Let it be said, let it be done.
Okay.
I shall merge it with our goals and the CPA plan
And the
and
signage.
whatnot.
Yeah,
Awesome, thank you.
yeah, good
And-
job.
Good job.
I will add that, and Mike, maybe if you want to work with me on that, with a project application, we can add this into it,
Yeah,
because we're gonna have to have that for next meeting to, if we're gonna, right, that's July. We probably want to have the application finalized July or August.
So that means we don't have to meet in April through August anymore? We can just do it September through,
No, we're still got a lot of housekeeping to do.
Yeah, projects are still happening.
Oh, yeah. All right. All right, that concludes CPA plan edits. Next on the agenda, CPA construction banner signage. I reached out to a sign company to get a quote on those.
Construction bit, another signage thing?
Yeah, well, we
No, but
talked
this is a
about
good
it
one.
the last meeting, you know, your CPA dollars at work.
Yeah, right.
Whatever, for the, you know,
I like
construction
that,
fence,
yeah.
what have you. Came back with a price of $10 to $15 a square foot, so depending on the size that we want to make them, and that includes the design. So I didn't want to have them design it for free. I don't know what we want for wording on it or whatever, so if I can get a little feedback from you guys, and if we want to decide how many and how big and vote to appropriate administrative funds for it, we can get the ball rolling on it.
It doesn't sound like it's very expensive.
Is that a local
So-
group, Adam?
Gentleman in Tewksbury.
that's the construction, so is that a hard sign, or is
No,
that
it'll be a
the
vinyl,
vinyl?
well, nylon banner.
It's like a temporary thing while the
Yeah.
project.
Well, the project is going on and they're reusable.
Okay.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
grommets and all.
Yeah,
that.
but- yeah.
And then there'll be some other signage that says this,
Well, that's the particular project signage, which has to be carried by the project.
Right.
okay.
This'll just be, you know, hey, Town of Groveland, we're spending your money wisely on this
This is
wonderful
what we're
skate park that
doing.
you
That's
all
what
want.
As we're doing it.
So it needs to be big enough to be seen by the car.
I was thinking 3 feet by 5 feet.
Yeah, even like that,
Like this.
What, so what, how big
like
is
that might be a little bit,
Well, that's not-
I think 3 by 5 is
32.
small.
Maybe.
he's counting the cinder, he's counting the cinder
Count
blocks.
the cinder blocks are 8 by 16.
I'd 6 by 10 without how cheap it is.
What's that? This one's, oops, sorry, this one's longer. Okay.
Then you get into specialties, anything above 4x8.
Yeah, anywhere close.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
It's because it's visible.
That's,
we're
How much
saying,
was
it's
it?
like 3 feet by 5 feet.
Yeah.
It's about that.
3 by 5.
That's a little less than 3 feet, it's like
Yeah.
32. So about that big.
It's a meter.
Yep.
We use metrics.
Okay.
better than 1982 print shop.
Maybe we can put the fancy new town logo on there too. I like the new one way better than the old one. That one.
That's good.
But as far as like wording goes, I don't know how, you know, how exactly to where, I'm not an English major.
Well, it'd be nice if
I
it's
can work
short
with
and
you.
sweet.
Yep, well, you have to have it short enough where the lettering is large enough to all fit on.
Big
there,
enough
and
to
so
see.
weird that people can see
Right,
and
right.
understand what it is
So it
saying.
might
as
have
they're
to
driving
be
by.
bigger if we
Do
have
you
two more
want to
words.
say, see, if you just say CPA, I don't think people know
No.
what that means.
I don't think so.
So that means putting Community Preservation Act, which is big.
Yeah. Maybe you make it 5 feet to work with.
Unless you did town CPA funds, hard at work or
They
something.
think, that's a.
Yeah, everybody always asks me,
an
what is
accountant.
CPA?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think
Oh,
you gotta,
CP oh.
I think it's gotta be
That's why all of the complaints
Community
about it.
Preservation Act,
What is it?
building Groveland.
Yeah.
But it's a teachable moment, really, to, maybe it should be spelled out.
I think,
So that-
I think you're
And
right
maybe the
because of
letters
exactly
would
what
be
you said.
bolder, the
C-
the
yeah.
CP.
CPA in
yeah,
a little
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
parentheses.
or it could be,
the
Bold.
CPA are big letters,
Yeah.
and then the Immunity
Right.
Preservation Act,
right,
and then,
Italicized underneath it or whatever. And you
Just
could,
have
you
it
could, there's so many different
part of the
options.
text.
Yeah, this guy's he's an.
Working
honest
for
dude.
Groveland.
But like I say, just trying to like get the wording of how we
Yeah.
want it. And
Community Preservation Act working for Groveland, right?
It'd be good.
I'd like to think that people know that that is town,
That's nice. I would also like to think that.
just,
I,
it'd be nice if they knew, because
But this is
how-
messaging. This is
yeah, your
this is
tax,
part
your
of,
tax
you
dollars
know,
at work.
Right, something like, well, it's not our tax dollars.
in part.
Well, it
Well, I
is,
Just
guess it
another
is.
tax.
Yeah,
it is.
your tax
it
dollars
is.
at work are good. It's good.
But
I
it's
like
a
that.
positive use
Proud-
of top.
Proud,
Oh, positive,
like
but-
proud sponsor, it's like that kind of,
You know,
Like
made
to
possible
say.
by
Too
Groveland
This
Community
project.
Preservation Act.
Also
Yeah.
okay.
Made possible
Funds?
by,
Groveland Community Preservation Funds.
Preservation Act funds.
Mr. Chair, what I'll do is I'll Google some others. You can just Google it online, see what other people have for signage that, and I'll give you a bunch of options and we can kind of go from there.
Perfect.
Love it.
Great. Perfect. Okay, so that's the.
How many
main
of
And I might use a little bit of AI as well.
Oh, probably. I don't think you have a choice these days. The first thing that comes up.
I haven't got into it yet.
Yeah, but
I
when
keep
you-
looking at it and say, I could save a ton of time if I use this,
You-
but
But when
I'm
you
ignorant to
Google
learn.
something,
Interesting.
that's usually the first thing that comes up.
Yeah,
So you do see it.
you don't have a choice.
Big brothers.
So we're looking at, we can get, I think we had talked about 3 of them last time.
Yeah, that sounds
You know,
great.
Under $1,000.
Yeah.
Where is this money coming from? It can-
CPA administrative funds,
So that's allowable.
yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because it's promoting the CPA.
Right,
It's-
okay.
it-
Gotcha.
yeah,
Thank you.
It's a perfect idea.
So I'm gonna make a motion to approve up to $1,500 for construction banners. Design will finalize at the next meeting before they're printed.
I'm going to second that motion.
Any further discussion?
no,
All those in favor?
Aye.
no,
Unanimous, perfect.
moving deadline for new projects.
All right, moving deadline for project, we went through, I combined that with the CPA plan edits. All right, next up, we got to recommend public members for approval by the select board. We had talked about this at the last meeting, and we were waiting on the state to approve the bylaw changes. After talking with Rebecca, she said to just go with it. They don't, it's already been reviewed by council, and they don't anticipate it coming back. It'll be back in 90 days. So I'm going to make the motion that we appoint Leah and Elaine as our public members for the next year.
I'm going to second that motion.
If interested.
Yeah, oh, I'm interested,
I am,
yeah.
yeah.
I might actually know what I'm doing by.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm going to let you guys fight amongst yourselves. One is for 1 year, one is for 2 years.
Oh, thank you.
I'll take a year.
Okay, I'll take the 2.
Elaine for a year,
Yeah, you're 2 years, okay.
Leah for 2.
Ruby,
Is that something we vote on, or is that something that the chair decides?
What's that?
Is that that?
No, we're voting on it. The 1 and 2, I just needed to.
Ourselves, as we're-
So again, I'm going to make the motion to appoint Elaine for a 1-year public member, Leah for a 2-year public member.
I'll second.
Adam, do we vote? We don't vote first.
I think you would
can vote.
abstain.
You can vote for yourself, I don't, it's,
You can?
Yeah.
All right, I mean, I'm-
You don't get any financial interest out of it.
Oh, that's, well,
I
that's.
think it would
oh,
also be
no?
fine if they abstained.
You
because-
can not vote for yourself. I don't, doesn't matter. It's entirely your call.
No, I just.
Everybody's gonna judge you though, regardless of what.
I think they should abstain because
That's
it,
what I was-
it affects them. So I
No.
think everybody else should vote,
There's-
and that's fine.
Robert's rules says there's no reason why you can't vote for yourself in Robert's rules.
Well,
It's
be that as it
the
may.
appearance of
it may-
transparency
Right,
is
the
important.
appearance of impropriety is something we'd like to avoid.
That's
And I have a
ridiculous.
feeling,
All
that
right,
will be
I'm gonna call for the vote. You guys do whatever you're comfortable with.
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And unanimous.
And you know,
There you go, it was
Unanimous.
unanimous, 2 abstentions.
You can both vote no, and you still lose.
Note that there were 2 abstentions,
Got it.
really, thank you, gentlemen and ladies.
otherwise unanimous.
All right, moving on. Discussion on members whose terms are expiring June 2025. Mike, Ed,
Address Leanne
DJ.
Lane.
Leah and Elaine, you're good
We
now.
just got an up,
So,
We have a,
just
Planning
have your
board.
board revote
we
you.
have a planning board meeting tomorrow.
I already did.
All right, perfect.
planning
And
board
Ed,
meeting
I'll
every
reach out to
Tuesday
him and
or
make sure.
every
Just wanted to bring
I
it to your
keep thinking
attention.
I
First
should
and
be
third.
there.
First and
Thursday?
third. First and third Tuesdays.
First and third,
Tuesdays,
Tuesdays.
yes.
All right,
Usually.
really powering through this here.
Wow, hey.
Discussion on new project kickoffs. We're setting up kickoff meetings, 2 scheduled, one for the Congregational Church and one for Rebecca's plan. And then working on scheduling the one for the Trail Omnibus
The Omnibus Trail Act.
Trail Act.
With signs. With signs.
Signs are involved.
So just letting you know, I think the church and the affordable housing one is July 18th. So we'll have an update at the next meeting, maybe.
Okay.
The affordable housing one is when?
July
I believe it's the 18th.
So that's the next meeting?
No, that's just a kickoff meeting for the project.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah, but
to sign the grant agreement and just kind of get a more in-depth, like, implementation timeline. I'm gonna sit in on those so I can bring the information back to the
Okay.
board at the following
When
meeting.
is the meeting? Where is the meeting? Is it the planning board?
No, it's just a meeting between the applicant, myself, and Rebecca to just kind of
Okay.
go over the whole operation and
Stop.
review the grant agreement, make sure everybody has everything they need. All right, update from town administrator.
She's on vacation.
Don't dime her out, she works harder than anybody else in town.
She deserves.
Well earned, right?
All right, so New Mill Pond, we kind of already know where that is. We discussed that at the beginning, same with the Crosstown Rec Trail. Washington Hall paving and hydroseeding. No report was provided by the project manager. Linda stopped by to discuss the procurement process.
Actually,
Do-
we're getting quotes.
This is for the paving and hydroseeding? What isn't done? What portion of that project isn't done?
Getting the quote.
I know.
The paving.
That's why I asked.
Meeting?
The hydroseeding.
Hydroseeding is what's
That was
left?
done a while ago, yeah.
That hydroseeding is done.
I'm sorry?
Is the hydroseeding done?
No,
Yeah,
no.
it's, well, we're gonna put something beneath the hydroseeding. We were trying to decide if we were gonna get hydroseeding or if we should just put plants in.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so,
Because it's kind of
That's
a
the
hard thing to
portion
mow.
that's not done.
gotcha. It's,
Yeah,
Bunch of weeds
that would
down.
be the perfect thing for
So-
a more natural,
Yeah, native
Planting,
plants,
yeah.
that would be fabulous.
yeah.
just like I say, I'm glad to hear something. Pine Skate Park, the consultant Spawn Ranch has secured build crew for the skate park. We are currently awaiting confirmation from the crew regarding their mobilization
A
timeline.
real name?
The last update indicated they expected to be ready to mobilize later this summer. We continue to communicate with the contractor to ensure the project stays on track and on schedule, sending out bi-weekly updates to monitor progress. The contractor understands our eagerness to see the project completed promptly. Planting and preserving historic trees. Update, the new VZ Park sign was installed in May. An arrangement was made with a company interested in our Adopt a Space program to provide plantings around the new sign. Volunteers continue to help provide spring work on reforestation site, check on additional landscaping to naturalize cleared area along Washington Street and clear invasive bittersweet and multiflora rose. Additional trimmings of trees next to 199 Washington Street, and then follow up on Elm Square Tree Project with Arthur Marcos of Groveland Highway Department. Cemetery monument preservation, epoch preservation continues work. As of the last one, they were anticipating being done this calendar year. Community garden, no report was provided by the project manager.
From Jan Dempsey, they're just putting together the final report, so should be by next month.
That project's done?
Well, the final report will be then, yeah.
Is that gonna turn into a 2026 project?
It could, I don't know.
Gotcha. All right. Next up, Washington Hall on National Registry. No report was provided, however, Linda has scheduled a meeting to discuss procurement process.
Yeah, we're having a problem finding someone who will do it.
Okay, did you ask Rebecca to help you find someone?
Well, I found someone, but now the problem is I have to look for more people because,
3 quotes, right?
well, no, I don't need 3 quotes, but it's more money than the state said it was gonna cost.
Oh,
So we've got kind of a mess.
We love those.
fair enough.
So I'm gonna see if I can find someone who'll do it for less, but
Do they need to be like certified by anybody?
yes, yes. It's
Oh.
a very, very narrow group of people who are
Did you
certified.
check with trustees of the reservation? Or Historic New
They have
England?
to be approved by the MH.
Right, but I mean, I know they have historic properties. And, I just,
Well, I can check with them. I've checked with a bunch of people. I got
This-
a lot of no's,
Yeah.
and I have some people who
yeah,
will do it,
but the
too much
price,
money.
Gotcha.
So, you know.
Where did the figure come from? That state told you what that number was when you put the application in?
Yeah, the state said that was the number. Well, apparently the people doing the work say, no, that's not the number.
That
But
sounds
okay.
familiar.
How far is it off?
$1,000.
oh,
So it's even more than the contingency. You guys got any historic funds you can pour in on top of that? You raking a bunch of money with the antique appraisal?
No, we're not breaking in a lot of money. I wish we were.
It didn't turn out to be an Antiques Roadshow.
We're still working on it.
Fair-
I don't know. We'll
fair
see
enough.
what happens.
Yep. All right, next up, Pines Shade and Seating. Arthur Marcos, Highway Superintendent, has met with multiple vendors regarding the shade structures. While we are still awaiting final pricing, we have made progress in narrowing down the design details. One key challenge has been ensuring adequate clearance from the play structure. We want to avoid installing the shade structure at a height that could pose safety risks, such as accidental contact or opportunities for climbing and vandalism. Finding the right balance between functionality and safety has therefore been somewhat of a challenge. Additionally, we are collaborating with Jason Naves on the shade structure project for the dog park, which is being funded through a private grant. Combining these efforts makes practical sense to streamline coordination and procurement. Once we select the structure and finalize the placement, the project should proceed smoothly. In discussions with the vendor, we understand the installation can be completed within approximately 1 week of authorization. While our goal is to have the entire project finished by the end of the summer, we are aiming for an earlier completion, ideally by the end of July. Town clerk scan docs. The project manager explained that the reports were picked up mid-April, and their eBiz contact anticipates the project will take 4 to 5 months. Perry Park Design Phase. Update, we had a great turnout on May 29th for the public engagement session on the Perry Park Restoration Project. We're currently in the early concept and design phase, and based on feedback from the meeting, residents responded positively to the conceptual plans. There was strong support for maintaining the park as a passive space, with proposed features such as a gazebo-style structure as a focal point, structured parking, art installations, and walking paths to better connect and activate the space. Next steps include having the consultant refine the design and develop a construction cost estimate. The town's project lead, Stephanie Bartelt, intends to apply for additional CPC funding for 2026. In addition, the town will work to identify potential grant opportunities to further support the project. Pines parking enhancements. Update, the railing for the pathway
I
down
heard stuff.
down to the Pines has been ordered. The only outstanding items are the paving and striping. The leagues at the Pines requested we delay this work until after June 15th to allow them to complete their season, as several teams qualified for championships and were hosting games.
Somebody has to have priorities straight, yeah.
The contractor will schedule the paving and striping work after June 15th, and we will need to coordinate access for approximately 2 days. We understand this is an inconvenience, however, having the parking lot complete with a top coat and striping will create a more functional layout.
Notably, June 15th has passed.
And provide easier parking down to the boat ramp, helping to accommodate the increased demand during high-traffic events.
It's cut through.
So Rebecca's on vacation this week, so I bet you next week they're laying pavement.
And they've still got a top coat Shanahan.
Yep, we're getting to that right now.
Look right next.
Oh,
Shanahan Field Parking Creation, update, the contractor is continuing to finalize landscaping at the project site. The final remaining tasks are applying the top coat and field markings. We recognize soccer community's eagerness for completion and share that sentiment. However, paving has not yet commenced. While this delay is inconvenient, it is no more disruptive than the previous conditions, which featured non-designated parking and an unorganized layout. Once complete, anticipated within the next 2 weeks, the improvements will provide a much more organized parking area and significantly improved access to the fields for years to come.
Shanahan and the Pines are the same contractor?
Same
It'll all
contract,
be-
so I'm sure
It'll all
they'll
be done the
Yeah,
same.
I'd be willing to
couple
bet they're done
days.
at the same
Yep.
time. And, that was a huge cost-saving maneuver combining those, so.
Yeah.
Additional notes and update, pursuant to the committee's direction, I have contacted all 2025 project applicants, provided them with their respective grant agreements, and initiated scheduling of kickoff meetings. These meetings are intended to review project milestones, establish clear timelines, and outline critical steps for successful project execution. To date, I have received responses from 2 applicants, the Congregational Church and myself. However, I have yet to receive confirmation from project managers overseeing the 46 Washington Street project, the trail improvement and cleanup initiative, and the Vito project. During the kickoff meetings, we will focus on establishing a detailed project management framework, including defining key milestones and deliverables, clarifying roles and responsibilities, reviewing procurement and compliance requirements, establishing communication protocols and reporting schedules, and identifying potential risks and mitigation strategies. Following these initial discussions, we will hold a follow-up session to consolidate progress, address outstanding issues, and finalize project timelines to ensure timely and effective completion of all projects. End of town administrator update.
Mr. Chair, is there anything, being the fact that we received responses from only 2 of the applicants?
Yeah, I talked about that. We're working on the trail one now. And then Mike's right here. He can speak to Washington Street and the Vito TBD.
That's- Yeah, I talked to Claire, she's just been busy
Busy.
with a couple of things.
And Mike, I'm not even asking tonight, I'm just saying maybe connect with Rebecca instead, and so then she know, you know what I mean? So
Oh,
she
yeah.
knows, so as being the manager.
Yes.
All right, next up, set date for next meeting. July 14th.
Well, right now, it looks wide open.
Seems right in the middle of the month.
I'm good for the 14th.
I can do
July 14th, 6:30 PM, right here. Right. Next, we have approval of minutes from the 5/19/25 meeting.
Oops, not at all. Not gonna be here in the morning. That's not happening. Yeah.
Make a motion to approve minutes from the 5/19/25 meeting?
Seconded.
Any conversation? All those in favor?
All right.
Perfect. All right, other items not reasonably anticipated at the time of posting. DJ?
Yeah, I have one thing. One update is based upon, I know we had a lot of great discussion tonight, but based on the CPA, oh man, the word, to be able to opt out,
Oh, the exemption.
exemption, thank you. To be exempt, in the exemption status for CPA taxing, reached out to Council on Aging. They do have availability there for them to have assistance, to walk through the process. But what I'm going to, they don't really have anything established. It's just kind of print out whatever paperwork they need to have and then kind of guide them what they might need. I am going to go one step further in kind of how you showed the outline of what our process is going to be. I think I'm going to pretend that I'm going to put myself in to go under an exemption status and see what data I need to pull. And what I'll do is I'll do it like a summary cheat sheet of, okay, this question is asking you to go to your bank and pull your bank statements for the last 3 months. Because I know there's a lot of financials, so I can't,
These are the exemptions for the
to get out of the tax
tax
bracket.
right.
When is the deadline for that?
That's what I'm gonna pull. I'm gonna pull all that, and I'll have everything kind of laid out, so it's easy. And then they obviously can reach out to us with if any questions, and also Council on Aging will help them as well. And the assessor has a lot of the info they would need. So anything that's why I want to go step by step. Okay, this comes from the assessor, this comes from your bank, this comes from your, whether it's the registry, whatever it is.
To make it less
simple.
confusing.
Yeah, exactly. So I just want to try to simplify it for people. I asked the COA if they've had anybody request that, and they said, I think they've had 2, maybe 3 people ever come in and ask to, they've never seen anything from there. But they don't manage it, they pass it on to the assessor, so.
Fair enough. Like it, love it.
That's a good idea.
Thank you.
Yep.
Lee, you got anything?
Nope.
Elaine?
Nope.
Mike?
No.
I've got nothing. Linda? Kim?
Nope.
Patrick?
No, sir.
Don?
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned, 8:08 PM.
Wow. Nice job, Adam.
Thank you, Groveland.
Yep.